Hello guys, in today's lecture we are going to be building an inventory management system with Django. We're going to learn Django by building an inventory management system to take our stocks and keep track of our sales and our profits. I have created this empty folder here. So let's open with our IDE. I am going to be making use of the Visual Studio Code. All right, so I've opened my Visual Studio Code. Let's zoom it a little bit. Now I have an empty directory. So I am on Windows. I am going to open up my terminal with Ctrl J or Ctrl backtick. And for the terminal, I'll be making use of the Windows command prompt. If you are on Mac or Linux and you want to also follow along with this training, you can use your normal terminal like Git bash is also a good one, so you can take any of them, but for me I prefer making use of the command prompt. So if you are on Windows, you can also use the command prompt. So the first thing is to make sure you have Python installed on your system, and to verify that I am going to use py-v or py-v, sorry, Python version. And you can see I am running on the latest Python, which is Python 3.13.3. If you are Mac, you can also use Python 3 version. Like this, you will get it. For Windows, you can also use py-v that will run some bunch of scripts that will run some bunch of script. So that shows that I also have Python. So on command prompt, if I want to clear my screen, I am going to be using CLS. But if you're on Linux or Mac, you use the word clear. So that's just the differences. All right, let's begin by creating a virtual environment. So a virtual environment helps us to separate our local environment on our system so that we don't have multiple installation of a particular package, which may, give some dependency issues maybe later on. So you separate it by creating a virtual environment that will have an exact copy of what you have on your local system, but then separates whatever you have from your local machine. And to do that, we use a package that comes with a Python, which is pip, Python Installation Package Manager. And instead of, we use pip. Once you install Python on your system, you will have Python installed, you will have pip installed, and you have some other Python modules also installed with it. Something like the virtual environment, that's the VENV. So we're going to be making use of that module. And to do that, we use Python -m, and for the Mac users and Linux users, you can use Python 3-m, okay, or you can use pip pip3, okay. That's for the Linux and Mac users. So we will use Python -m. So the -m command here tells it to use a particular module, and which module is that? It is going to be the VENV module. So we are going to be using the VENV module, which is virtual environment module, to create a virtual environment. So we are going to then add the name we want our virtual environment to bear. So for me, I want my virtual environment to be .abc. Now, I like using something like this so that I don't have my virtual environment folder looking similar to my projects. So I use dots and some random words to do that. Okay, so .abc. So let's hit enter. So you press enter and wait for it to create the virtual environment. So it is now creating the virtual environment. And if you look at the file explorer, you see that we have this folder which is named after the name that we gave to the virtual environment. And this is our virtual environment folder. And if you look closely at it, if you open it, you will see that it comes with some bunch of other folders and some files. So a folder like the include folder, the libs folder, and the script folder. So for the script folder, we have some of the scripts that will help us to activate or deactivate our virtual environment. So we are going to be making use of the activate.bat to activate our virtual environment. And we also are going to make use of the deactivate.bat to deactivate our virtual environment. All right, having said this, let's activate this virtual environment. And to activate this virtual environment, we can just mention the name of the virtual environment, which in my case is .abc. And I am going to use backslash because I am on Windows. So backslash scripts backslash activate .bat, and press enter, and my virtual environment is active. This is the virtual environment showing that it is active. If you are on Mac, you should use this command, source, and then followed by the name of your virtual environment. So if it is .abc, then /bin/activate. So this is the command that would work on Mac and Linux. Okay. All right. So our virtual environment is active. So anything or any module or any package of Python that we install using pip right now is not going into our local Python environment, but into the Python virtual environment that we just created. So let's install Django, which is what we are going to be using for our lesson. So we're going to use pip. If you are on Mac or Linux, you can use pip3. Pip install Django. And we press enter and wait for it. Depending on the speed of your internet, it's going to take some time, but it's going to go ahead and download Django into your virtual environment. So let's wait for it to install. Now Django has been installed into our virtual environment, and if you want to see that, you can simply go to this and let's look at the libs. You can see that the libs comes with site packages, and these are the packages that we just installed: the AS giraffe, then on the Django, and SQL pass, which is going to help us to run our SQL and SQLite, TZ data, and other things. So these are the things that we have installed into our virtual environment. So since we now have Django, we can go ahead to create our project and our app. So to create our project, we will use this command, Django dash admin start project. So Django dash admin start project, and then space with the name of that project. So since we are going to be using inventory, so let's just call it inventory. And I'm going to put a trailing dot at the back just to make sure that this doesn't create additional folders. So you can see it's created a folder called inventory, and then it created a file that is called manage.py. Now this manage.py will help us to run commands to do some activities with Django. So it is a CLI file that Django provides for us to be able to run so many things like server, migrations, create super user, and so many other things. And then if you open the folder, this is our folder structure. And inside the folder, we have the __init__dot_py. So this is basically an empty folder, an empty file, but Python uses it to initialize every module of Python. So in most of the Python modules, you are going to have this particular file. It is usually empty, but what Python uses it to know that it has to initialize a particular folder or module. And then for the second file we have there is the asgi.py, which represents asynchronous server gateway interface. So we use it to handle asynchronous server gateway interactions in our web application. And we also have the settings.py, which is a very important file. We use it to do most of the things that we are going to do in this project. Okay, most of our configuration, our databases, connection, and so on are going to be in the settings.py. And for the urls.py, this particular file handles all the URL routing throughout our application. All our URLs has to pass through this urls.py. And then finally, the wsgi.py, which handles web server gateway interface. So most of our Django applications handles our requests as in form of server client request, and that is WSGI. So we are going to be hosting this application through the help of our WSGI. Okay, so that's all. So we are not going to change anything on the WSGI and the ASGI, but we are going to change things on the settings.py and urls.py. All right, so having created our project, let's go ahead to run this server. So we need to run our server, and to do that, what we need to do is to do Python. If you're Mac, whenever you use Python, you are going to be using Python 3. If you are on Mac or Linux, Python manage.py run server. So the manage.py, now we are using it to run a server that is going to serve our project, and that's, let's press enter, and this is going to do something. It's going to create a server for us. If you look at, I am not going to be looking at this for now, but if you take a look at this, You can see Django version 5.2.2 using settings. So it is using what we have in our settings.py, and it has run this server on localhost port 8000. Most of the Django applications are run using port 8000, but you can still switch to different ports if you so desire. So we can just hold Control and left click on this. You can use command if you are on Mac. And this is going to take us to our project. So this is our project. Now our project is running. Let's come back to our Django. All right, so we need to also have a Django app. Now, you may not fully understand what a Django application is, but the project is like the general overview of our work, whereas the apps are like the different components of our project. So take, for example, if you are working on Facebook or Meta generally, Meta is the general project, but then in Meta, there are so many apps, or in Facebook, there are so many apps. Let's just use Facebook because it will be clearer to understand. It's easier to understand Facebook. So if you go to Facebook now, there are so many applications running on Facebook. There is Facebook Market, there is Facebook Messenger, there is Facebook News Feed, there is Facebook Watch, there is Facebook page for the page managers, there is advertisement managers, and there is the content managers, and so many other applications. So within Facebook, which is one project, you have the chat messenger, the Facebook messenger that enables people to chat, and you have the market that enables people to sell their properties, and you have the watch where people can post videos and people get to see those videos. So these are different applications within one project, which is Facebook. So bringing it to Django, the overall project is what we know as project, and then each of the components of that project is the apps. Okay, so we will go ahead to create an application. So for now, let's create the project app. So we're going to use Django -admin, Django-admin, start app, and then we give the app a name. Let's call it products, and we press enter. It is going to create another folder which is called products, as you can see here. And inside this particular folder, there is another folder called migrations, which contains only the init.py, which helps it to initialize the migrations. This particular folder handles communications between our Django model and our database. So we will see that later on. And then we also have the init.py here, which initializes this application. And then we have the admin.py, which handles the admin interface. We have the apps.py, which connects our app to our project. And then we have the models.py, which forms an abstraction layer between the objects we have within our system to that of the tables in our database. And then the test.py, which helps us to test out our application, and then the views.py, which handles what our users will see. So this is what we have on the application. All right, before we begin, there is a db.sqlite tree that has been created for us. So by default, Django comes with SQLite. SQLite is just like a database that we can use for testing purposes. It is not advised that you use SQLite for a production environment because of its inability to handle multiple or large number of requests per per minute or request. All right, so let's understand the architectural design or pattern of Django. So Django is an MVT platform. MVT represents model view templates. So model view template, model represents our database, which is where we get our data from, and then the view is a place that handles the logic on how this data that we get from the models are handled in the template. While the template is the normal HTML which you use to render your data. Okay, so you know HTML present that data in a way that it makes sense and it looks a little bit of refined, but what actually handles this transfer of data is the view. Where the data is gotten from is the model. So that's just the way it works. So when a user comes into the browser and then puts up your website and requests for a particular page, that request is sent to the urls.py, and the urls.py sees this request and hand it over to a view. Now that view function handles this request and knows what data to take from the models and return it into the HTML and send it back to the URL through which the user is going to see whatever they are looking for. And that is how Django works. Now let's do this practically. So once we create an application, we must tell the project that we have an application. So to do that, we go to the application, which is inventory, and go to settings.py. Let's push this one down. So on the settings.py, let me even remove this comment. On the settings.py, you look for list of installed apps. So you can see this is a list. Is a list of all the installed app. I am not going to go into details of this, but these are some of the applications that Django has created for you, like the authentication, the session, the messages, static files, the admin, and so on. You will see that later on. So let's add the one that we just created. So we created products. As you can see here. And that's all we need to do for now. The next thing is to come to products, because we need to tell the project how to handle requests coming from the URLs. So we need to create a file here on the app. And the file we are going to create here is going to be the urls.py. Okay, so I will leave it empty for now, but then I'll go to the project. There is another urls.py in the project. So here I am going to add the urls.py that I created in the app. So here I am going to add part, and I am going to use an empty string, and then I'm going to use include and include the products.urls. Now we need to import include as well, because that's the function that we use to include our app. So we have included the application, the URL in the application into the project. This is the project, and we are including this particular URL which appears in the products. We are including it into the project, and we want to handle it through the front page. So when you keep this empty, it takes the user to the front page, which is the home page. But if you append something like this, as you can see here, it is going to be your website slash whatever you have here. So for example, it's going to be my website slash admin. It's going to take me to this particular URL at the top. So when I have empty something here, it's going to be my website, which is taking me exactly to the home page. So let's go back to the app, and on the urls.py, we're going to create this from Django.urls import part, because we need it. And then the next thing is to import our views, because the views are the component, or rather the file that is going to handle requests coming in from our URL. So we need to import it. So from the current directory, import views. So we are importing the views. And then we need to set up a variable for our URL patterns. URL patterns. And it's going to be a list containing paths, and then where we want to send the person to, which is going to be the home page, and then the function in the view that is going to handle this particular request. Okay, I am going to just call it home.views. For now, we don't have any function called home in the views, and that's why we are having this error or this warning. And then the name is going to be a string of home. Now let's go to the views. Now this view is going to be the function that we are calling here. So we need to define a function which we are going to call home. So now this function home is what we called here. So the function home is going to take one argument or one positional argument, which is going to be request. And then we can return something. But for now, let's return an HTTP response. So let's just do this from Django.http import HTTP response. And then we are going to return the HTTP response, and then we can use hello world, welcome to home. But this is also going to take one positional argument again, which is going to be request. So this is not one positional argument, rather we have two positional arguments, which is request and this string we have here. All right, so we are now calling on the home view here. So that's, we can say views.home. So we are calling this function home, this home function here. So whenever this part is called, we will use the function called home to return something into this part. Okay, let's just run our server with python manage.py run server. and let's see what we have. Okay, okay, you can see that we are not seeing anything. So that is because we also passed in requests here. So let's remove the requests and rerun this server, and you can see hello world, welcome to home. But then we can't continue writing long HTML within here. You can see we can still pass in H1 into this request, you know, on the server. Whenever you do something, the server should rerun. If it doesn't, you use Ctrl+C to end it and start it again with python manage.py run server. And you can see it is now. So how will it look when you have to write all your HTML within here? This is going to look messy. So because of that, there is need to separate your HTML and include it when you need it. And because of that, we need to create a folder called templates inside our app, not the project but our application. So templates. So look at the convention, the spelling. This is just the convention in Django. So within our template, we can now have our HTML. So I'm going to have index.html, and I'm just going to add some random HTML to it. So let's have h1 and say hello, welcome again. So this is what we have in the HTML. But we cannot return this HTML using this HTTP response. So I'm going to remove the HTTP response for now. And we're going to just return render. So we are going to use this package here, this function here called render to return our HTML. So we'll use return render, and this render is going to take the argument called request, and then the next argument it will take is our HTML, which is index.html, and we save it. We can check back again, and you can see welcome again. So we are now returning what we have in our HTML. Very simple. Just to show you that this is our HTML, we can just return button. Let's add a button and say click, and if we go back and refresh, you have the button click. So we are returning the HTML right now. So for this project, we are going to be using Tailwind with DaisyUI. So I have this DaisyUI, so you can go to DaisyUI.com to see for yourself. And I am not going to be going into the CSS of a thing. I am just going to use their CDN. So what I will do is I'll come here and I will do what? I click on copy to copy their CDN. Although we also have a process of installation for Django. If you go to install and look down, scroll down, you'll see Django. And if you click on it, it will show you all the steps that you need to take to install DaisyUI on Django. All right. So, but just to make everything easy, I am going to be using the CDN. So I'll just copy the CDN and go to my HTML and just right here, I'll paste what I copied. And I go again, because I want to use multiple themes. I'll also add this one. That's because I want to use multiple themes. All right. So right now, if you go to your website and refresh, you are seeing this because the style is taking effect. All right. So simple. I know some people may say, okay, I don't know how to handle, how to use Tailwind. I only know how to use Bootstrap, but it doesn't matter. Once you have the knowledge of Bootstrap, you can easily handle Tailwind because they have similar syntax. It's just a matter of classes. But you can also use the documentation. It is very simple. Um, so what I normally do is I just come down here and look for what I want. So if I am looking for something like the navigation, I'll simply go to navbar. So this is navbar. Now look for different navbar. You can change the theme color of your browser to any different theme colors here. So, but I prefer light and dark. Okay, so these are different menu or navbar styles that you can use. This is also good. This is good as well. So in fact, I think I like this one. I like this, and I also like this. So you can simply copy this and paste. So I already have something I prepared, which is the same thing here, but I had to do some minor changes to it. This is the HTML I added. You can see the DaisyUI here. This is their JavaScript, and this is the Tailwind CSS, which I am also using. And you know the DaisyUI uses Tailwind. Sorry, if we go to CDN, let's go to CDN back. You will see that they use Tailwind. Okay, look at it. They also use Tailwind. So let's see what this looks like. You can just right click and open with live server. So this is what I already have, and you can see it is responsive. Okay, and I have the light and dark mode. All right, so I am going to use this for now. So I'm going to just Control A and Control C to copy everything, and then I'll come inside my HTML and replace it with this. But then I will change this to, I will rename it to layout, because it's going to be the layout of my work. All right. So I now have this. So we have the script for the Tailwind. We also have the script for, the CSS coming from the DaisyUI. I think I will just add one more thing from the DaisyUI, which is going to be something like this. Let me copy what I have here. Let me paste what I have here. Look for anything that is a duplicate. If we have any duplicate, we can simply remove it. I don't think we have any duplicate. Okay, so I think there is a duplicate here. But then this is making use of Tailwind DaisyUI 3.6.6, while this one is 5. Okay. Just to be able to see what we are doing, let's just rename it back to index. Then after that, we can continue. Let's see. Everything is still working fine. Everything is still working fine. Okay. Everything is still working fine. Okay, so there is nothing I think going wrong. So now we are going to use template inheritance. So let me rename this to layout again. We are going to use template inheritance. I'm going to have my index, or rather let's call it home.html, just to make sure it reflects with what we have in the view function. So home.html, and we have the layout. So so what we do here is whatever we will have here is going to be the content coming into our website. So I'm going to just remove what I have here and replace it with the Django template tag block content. And end block. So this is where our content is going to render. I'm going to copy this too and go to our home, paste it, and here at the top I am going to create another template tag and say extends, and it's going to extend to layout.html, and this place is going to be my HTML. Let's have that same thing we had here. Let me do undo just to copy what I have here before. I'm going to copy whatever I have here before, copy that and redo. Okay, so I'll paste what I just copied here, and we can come back, and we can come back to this and refresh, and it says the template does not exist. Yes, and that's because we used home instead of index. So this place is going to change to home. So that's just the change. And let's try it again. And you can see we still have exactly the same thing that we wanted to have. So the essence of making a layout.html is so that all other pages that are going to also have the nav is going to be consistent. So like now that I have home, I have product, add product, contact, all of them are supposed to have this nav bar. And I don't have to create them individually. When I want to create another page, I have to create navbar again. So instead of doing something like that, you just have a master or a base layout where you can extend all the pages to. So all the pages are going to take that default design. So that's just what we are doing here. So let's create other pages of the HTML. So we are supposed to have, let's just minimize this a little bit. Push this here and have this here. And we have products, add product, contact, sign up, sign in. So let's create them. So products.html, add products, add underscore product.html, contacts.html, sign in, sign underscore in .html, then finally is sign underscore up .html. Okay, so we have all the pages here. So we're done with that. Let's increase this again. Let's leave it open like this, and let's go ahead to create a default view for each of them. So each of them is going to have a view. So this is going to be products view, and it's going to be a function products take request, and return render, which we have request and return product.html. So this is, let's just copy this, duplicate this. This one is going to be add products view. So this is going to be add underscore products, and is going to return add underscore products.html. Yes. The next is going to be contact.html, which is also going to return contact.html. The next is going to be, so this is going to be contact view, and this is going to be the sign in view, which is going to return, let's sign underscore in. Okay, and finally we would have sign up and which is going to return sign underscore up. So we are handling all the views. Let's copy what we have in the home just to show you what advantage we have. So we have this, and then this is going to be add new products, and this place is going to be start adding new products. Contact us. Sign in, sign up. Let's remove this. Let's also remove this. Let's add products. And here all our products. All right, so now let's see how everything looks like. Fresh, we are in the home, so but we haven't linked all these pages, so we need to link all the pages. So but we haven't created their URLs, so we need to do that. In the URLs, we go to this and we add part, and this is not going to be empty this time. We can just say add product slash, and the function is going to be views dot add underscore product. So you have to make sure that your spelling is correct. So copy that here and views dot add product, comma, and then name is equal to add. So always separate with comma so that you don't have all these errors. We do the same for the products, and this is going to be views dot products and name is products. You do the same for the contact part, contact, and the function is views dot contact. Remember to put this comma. and the name is contact. And then let's go to the layout and put up all these URLs. And because I made it a responsive design, we have the drawer for the desktop menu and the drawer for the mobile menu. So let's start with the desktop. So for the desktop, or rather I can simply do this, something like this, and do Ctrl D to also, so you can see I selected all the places where I have something similar, and what I will do is just I'll come inside here. You can see once I make any change, it automatically appears on the 2. So I'll say href, which is equal to, and I'll use Django template tag with double percentage. Inside it, I'll use URL, and then the name of the URL, which is going to be home. Now, how did I know the name of the URL? If you go to the urls.py, you will see the name is home. For the add product, the name is add. For the products, the name is product. And for the contact, the name is contact. So this is how I knew that this is going to be like that. Okay, so let's go back to the layout. You can see I have done the changes on the desktop and as well as on the mobile. Let's do the same for the products. So we highlight it and use Ctrl D. If you go to mobile, you see I have the both of them, and I can simply use the arrow key and then href equal to URL, and inside it, this is going to be products, as you can see. And then for the add products, we do the same thing. Ctrl D, and we can use the arrow key, href URL add. And finally, we do the same for contact. We do the same for contact. Ctrl D, use arrow, href is equal to URL contact. So this is how you save yourself from the stress of having to write all these things one after the other. So you can see how I used Ctrl D to do two things at the same time. And now refresh. If I go to home, it takes me to the home. If I go to products, you can see all products, and you can see they are inheriting the default design. And if I go to the add products, it says add new product. And if I go to contact, it takes us to contact. And you can come back to home. And you can use this light and dark mode. So this is very simple. All right, I don't have any design for the home page right now. Don't have any single design for the home page right now, but you can do that from DaisyUI. If you go to, let's say I want to design the path for something like the hero section, and I am looking for something like hero section. You can look out for it somewhere here. Look at it. We have hero. I can click on it and look for something like this. So this is also good for the hero section. This is good for the hero section. This is also good. This is also good. So, but for now, I can simply click on the HTML and do what? Copy this. Let's return back to our page and go to the home. And instead of having this, I am going to just add this, replace it with what I just copied, and that's all. If I refresh this, you can see what I have, and it is pretty much responsive. So this is just all for the setting up of our template. So the video is almost 1 hour long, so I am going to cut it and begin the second part. Make sure you subscribe and hit on the notification bell so that anytime I post a video, you get notified. Share this video so that more people will see it and encourage me by subscribing. I do Django videos to help you learn and understand how to work with Django. So to support me and encourage me to do more is just to subscribe and hit on the notification bell. Share the video with your friends so that they can learn. Share it to your communities, any Python community you can share it with. Also comment Django on the comment section, or also tell me the video you want me to do, the topic you want me to handle in our next video on the comment section. I'll see you in the second part of this video. Take care.